This question is about copper wire and copper compounds. Copper is used to make electrical wires, and then the diagram shows how electrical wires are insulated using an addition polymer called polybutene. And you can see this is a dark grey on the diagram, and the copper wire runs through on the inside of this, and they've taken the polybutene off some of the copper wire just so you can see that there is copper wire on the inside. And then for part A, we're shown the addition polymer polybutene. We're shown its structural formula. And that's a formula where you don't show every single bond that there is, but you can work out how the atoms are arranged from the structural formula. And you can see that there are some features of the polymer that are common to all polymers. First of all, you have something inside some rounded brackets, and this is referred to as the repeating unit of the polymer. And that's the bit that repeats again and again and again. How many times? Well, n times, where n is a huge number, hundreds, thousands maybe, of this repeat unit. And all of the atoms within the polymer are held together by these things shown as sticks. These are covalent bonds. And then on the outside, we've got these bonds, and these are referred to as trailing bonds, and they symbolize the fact that the polymer chain grows and grows and grows in each direction. And then we're told that the polybutene is produced from the monomer butene, and we're shown a partial diagram in the figure below, and we're asked to complete this diagram to show the displayed structural formula of butene. In other words, the monomer that this polymer is produced from. And so the first thing to note is that when you are doing addition polymerization, we are using monomers that are alkenes. And the very first thing that we need to do then is show the characteristic double carbon-to-carbon bond that is found in all alkenes. And when you're showing this for polymerization, the double carbon-to-carbon bond is always between the two carbon atoms that are going to form the spine of the polymer chain. And so in other words, these two carbon atoms here, they have a single bond once the polymer has formed, but that polymer forms because the double bond that is in the monomer breaks open partially and becomes a single bond. And then another feature of the monomer is, in fact, that all of the atoms inside the polymer repeat unit are present inside the monomer, and they're bonded in exactly the same way. So we need the bonds between the carbons and the hydrogens, and the CH3s and the carbons above and below our double bond. And the final two features of the polymer, the brackets with the N and then the trailing bonds, they aren't included in the monomer diagram. You could probably get away with the brackets and the N, but you certainly couldn't get away with the trailing bonds. The trailing bonds are only present in the polymer. And so the monomer has a double bond, and that is the feature that breaks open to make the single bond and allow that polymer chain to grow. And then we're told that copper can be recycled using scrap copper wire. And then we're asked to suggest why polybutene insulation needs to be removed from scrap copper wire before copper is recycled. Now, when you're shown a suggest question, that means you haven't been explicitly taught the answer to this question, but you need to be able to work out the answer using your knowledge of chemistry that you can bring to this question. And normally for a suggest question, there are a huge range of possible answers, and I will list a few of them. First and foremost, we need to recognize that during the recycling process, you take the thing that you're going to be recycling and you heat it up and you melt it, and then you set it into new shapes perhaps. And if we were to do this with the insulated copper wire, then the copper would be mixed in with the polybutene, or we could say it would be impure. And having this polymer mixed in with our metal is almost certain that the properties of the copper, for instance its conductivity, are likely to be negatively affected. It probably wouldn't conduct electricity very well. Other things you could say are problems that might occur during the recycling process, which is that the polymer might be flammable and therefore it might burn during the process, and this could in fact produce toxic fumes. And in fact, we don't even know if polybutene is a type of polymer that is recyclable. We haven't been given that information in the question because not all plastics will melt at all. Thermosetting plastics will not.